I've been listening fresh, that shit. Order 42 for the table, let's pop shit. Missionary or doggy style on my top shit. Pussy ass niggas hating on me from the closet. Trying to call me. What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. You are tuned into She Evolves with Nikki. I am live. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. If you are not already doing so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's Ivy Nicole. Y'all, please don't forget that HNICHOLE. It is the same across all social media platforms. Ivy Nicole. And by the way, there's no E in my first name, just IVY. So make sure you hit us up and follow me, subscribe. Check me out at ivynicole.com. Like I said, everything is straight across the board. Ivy Nicole. So today, it is She Evolves, and we are talking about the evolution of a woman because I want to know at what point is a woman limited from her evolution? Can she not progress any further than what she already has been? So I want to kind of dig into the conversation around Meg the Stallion. So everyone knows that she has been known as a Houston hot girl summer, the savage, thought shit, hands on my knees, all of the above, right? But recently she just graduated college, which is a major accomplishment. But it seems as though a lot of people are ignoring the fact that she crossed the stage, she got her degree, and she did what she had to do to get where she wanted to be in life. Because remember, she's only 26 years old. So, how many women was probably doing some thought shit at 26 years old? Can you possibly grow past that? Or was she always known for that? So, today we are actually talking about professional development and boundaries. So today I got Brandon Bryce. What up, though? Introduce yourself for people that don't know who you are.
All right. Brandon Bryce, I don't know, professional development we're talking about. Originally from Detroit and always here to help and glad to be on, Nikki.
Okay. All right. So who? I mean, it's customary that we get into your business. Who are you? Come
Well,
on.
so I do fund development professionally. Uh,
Okay.
I raise, money. I work with a lot of corporations and corporate partners. And so that whole, professional development, it's an interesting conversation because it impacts us all. And so, what's interesting is, it doesn't matter on, your image, your branding, all of that is how you market yourself. And so it's an interesting conversation. We're talking about Megan the Stallion because Megan the Stallion, I look at it as, this is a woman. First of all, she's 26.
Mm-hmm.
She's already made an impact in society. Whether you agree or disagree, that's a different story. But she's given back. And one of the things about celebrities, whether it's Megan Thee Stallion talking about starting schools or excuse me, community homes for seniors, whether it's LeBron James who's talking about really giving back to the community. This whole concept, I'm gonna coin a term on your show. This whole concept called urban philanthropy. Uh, is something that's unique. I mean, we've always done it. We've always called it kind of giving back, but there's a science to this thing called urban philanthropy around how do you give back? Why do you give back? And what organizations do you give back? Um, if you look at and I'll use the King Richard film. I just saw a great movie if you haven't seen it. But this is a man who gave back to his community in Compton. No one was playing tennis in the early '80s in Compton. But this man had a vision for his daughters, and obviously, they became who we know today as Venus and Serena. And so I think, the conversation isn't just about professional boundaries, but it's about how do we make sure, when people are giving back, what does that look like? Because your give back might not be my give back.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting concept that you just kind of brought about. Because when you're talking about giving back, yeah, she has said in previous interviews that her whole game plan was to
Mhm.
open up assisted living homes.
Mhm.
And in fact, her even going to college, going back to college, so to speak, was kind of her mother's dying wish. So she went back to school to honor her mother, so to speak. And we all know, that school is very expensive. It is very challenging. So I have a question. Why do you think a lot of people are just kind of attacking her? Um,
Well,
for being the hot girl, the Houston hottie, all of these.
who you brand yourself is just that.
Mm,
But I think it also goes into, this is a person who has done countless shows with Cardi B, and there are people who have issues with things that they may not understand. My thoughts are, if you don't like the content, don't watch it. But the other side to that is, for every negative, there's a positive. And so for everything that we might say, we don't agree with, um, there's a positive that that person may do. I know Cardi B does a lot of charity work that most people don't even know about. And unless you're interested in that, she keeps that kind of on a professional tip. LeBron James, as I said, he does a lot of community work, especially around education. We even have Snoop Dogg, who, on the one hand is, talking about, cannabis and all that stuff. But on the other hand, Snoop Dogg has got countless awards for the city for his commitment to young people and keeping young people off the streets. So, it really comes down to, people are going to all, like Charles Barkley said, 50% of the world is going to love you, and 50% of the world is going to not like you, regardless of who you are and what you do. My thoughts are, when going back to this urban philanthropy thing, when you're talking about giving back, what does that mean? Because the give back doesn't necessarily have to equal what everybody thinks. And I'll give you an example. Giving back in the sense of time, where people mentor people, that's a give back. LeBron James gives back through, countless philanthropy and funding programs and projects. That's a give back. Someone may give back by, offering somebody an opportunity that they normally may not have gotten. That's a give back. And so, my thoughts are, I think if we put more time on how people are giving back and making this place we call the country, the United States, better, rather than worrying about, a WAP video, I think we would be in a much greater state in this country, because the reality is this, post COVID, um, poverty is real. Uh,
mhm.
People with unequitable access is real. People, are not making the money they made before. And so I think the fact that Megan the Stallion has really taken on the task to talk about, opening up group homes and things that are actually going to benefit people. She's now created that platform. And I think those are the things that we need to pay a little bit more attention to, of
Mhm.
how do people use their pain to help progress someone forward.
Yeah, excellent point. I got Henrietta. She said that she's so proud of her. I think she'll prevail. Absolutely. Because again, we say that she's 26 years old. And I don't think that she had the idea that she was going to blow up to be Megan Thee Stallion when she stepped out. Um, of course, we all know it was very profitable. It was great branding. And like you said, everyone was so focused on the WAP video. I mean, like, let's be honest. If you listen to Cardi independently, she ain't singing nursery rhymes, right? You listen to Megan Stallion, she ain't singing nursery rhymes. So, what is it that you think they were going to do together? Did you think they were going to sing Kumbaya or come up with some type of nursery rhyme or something?
But this is
Let's be honest. What like it wasn't their intention to come out, um, to be picture perfect and the picture of innocence. It wasn't what they intended to be.
But here's where I think it gets very subjective. Music is art, right? And so, I'm sure some of the things Freddie Mercury and Queen did publicly uh, at the time was a little far fetched. I'm sure Metallica and Ozzy Osbourne, biting off bats' heads. I mean, that's a little far fetched.
A little
But I
far
think,
fetched.
but I think it depends on, music is really in the eye of the beholder. It's art form. My thing is, I think part of this, collective is that if you don't like it, don't watch it or don't listen to it. But I think again, it goes back to, separating the person from their art form, which pays the bills, and the commitment that they have to society. The work that they do. Um, whether you're talking about what Megan Thee Stallion is doing, what Jay Z is huge in the venture capitalist area of helping minorities who can't get bank loans. And he's saying, listen, the Jay Z Ventures is opening where they're giving people real access to opportunity to start their businesses. And so, and he has not always been a positive role model. And so I think that's where we really have to put on our common sense hat and say,
Hmm.
let's separate, the art form from where these people have truly committed to giving back. Most of these individuals that we've named, LeBron grew up in poverty, Jay-Z grew up in poverty, Cardi grew up in poverty, Megan Thee Stallion, I don't know her story, but it's safe to say these people, regardless of where they came from, they're saying, how do I make this place better than it was when I got
Hmm. Absolutely. And like, let's not forget our very own Cash Dow and Big Sean. You know,
it?
they're they're home. They're Detroit based. And they're here every year. They're giving back to the kids, to the community, um, all the time. But if just so happen to hit iTunes, you may hear a little something different. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they kind of said, yeah, she graduated, whatever, big deal. But what about the lives that she ruined as we reflect on the young girls and women that are listening to her say, oh, okay, if Megan Thee Stallion um, can be this savage, then I can too.
Yeah,
But
but
she
but
also
but you but
said,
you but you know what, Nikki? You know what, Nikki? But that let's stop there because parents have a role in that. My son or my daughter, if I choose to not let them listen to that, then they won't. And so we really got to put, role models have a role in society, but we really got to take that responsibility off them. And my thing, raise your kids. And depending on what you leveraged and you allow them to do, then that comes down to the parents. But don't say, you know, uh, this rapper or this artist ruined my child. No, you need to be a parent.
mm-hmm, yeah. But I think like the pushback with that, Brandon, I would say, what about those ones that don't have parents? Because it's like, in my industry, there's a lot of kids that grow up in the system. So they don't have the parents, they don't have the support system.
Well, I mean that's what mentors are for. That's what
That's what mentors, counselors,
mentors and even adults in the room, the teachers have a responsibility.
mhm,
Mentors have responsibility. Grandparents have responsibility. The case in point is it's important, and I think this is a much deeper conversation. Because now we're talking about the fabric of society as a whole, but it's important to be a mentor to someone. Doesn't matter if it's a cousin, a relative, a child. Everybody deserves mentors so that you can see or somebody can clearly say, "Hey, that's entertainment." Matter of fact, and here's what's interesting. I watched a documentary when they had Uncle Luke, and what's interesting out of all of the videos that
oh,
Uncle Luke,
baby.
well, here's what's interesting.
Okay.
Out of all the content that has come out of Two Live Crew over the years, Uncle Luke is and I actually had him on my show. He's a very, very strict father. He'll tell you that. And so, the thing is that now you got to question, well, is what that it is what was promoted. Is that actually who that person is, or is that how they pay their bills?
Okay, so it's almost like you telling people don't do a certain type of job because it may influence someone else to do that type of job. Don't pay your bills, just live, a basic life or a minimum life. Um, because the world is watching you and don't do certain things. But again, I don't think that, when we have celebrities such as Megan, Nikki, Cardi, we're talking about women, like their whole business plan is, I'm going to make this hot ass song in my mind. Like as a result, I'm going to corrupt the generation. I don't think that's in the business plan,
Well,
right?
a big part of it, Nikki, is the beats. I mean, like, think about it. Do you actually know the words to what?
I do.
Okay, well, you special. I mean, what I'm saying,
I
some people may not know the word, but they like the beat. And the beat. 90% of songs today is the beat. It's not really the words. Most people don't even listen to the words; they listen to the beats.
do. Okay, let's see. We got some comments. Um, that's not being your authentic self. That's being fake. Exactly what? What are you speaking of when you say it's being fake? I don't know. I may have said something and missed that. Oh, 100% facts, Brandon. Yeah. But again, like we say, like this is not their intent to
Mhm.
corrupt generations. As we said, it is all about the give back. And unless you do create a platform, unless you do have the financial means, you cannot properly give back in the way in which you really want to. You can't.
Well, and
You
part
can
of it is,
volunteer
yeah,
your time, you can
yeah.
serve the community, but like to really make a major impact and real change, take a couple dollars and a little backing for that.
Well, Nikki, part of it is we don't see this as the collective, and so I,
Hmm.
I always talk about the agenda is, we have enough money in the Black community, entertainment wise, to change issues in our community. The
Hmm.
question is, do we? And when we start looking at entertainers and sports figures, you're talking about billions of dollars being in one room. And yet, when we start talking about, do people identify in our community with the issue, high unemployment, education, schools barely making it and failed education, not having access to quality health care. I mean, we can fix that based on the amount of resources that are in the room that's in entertainment. The question is, I don't think people see the value of it. And I don't think people realize that there's a collective effort to fix these things. I think we're starting to see it now. And that's why you're starting to see public campaigns come out about, Taraji P. Henson recently said that she wants to use um, her resources and her popularity, her stardom, to challenge mental health. That's something we don't ever talk about. And so those, that's a good thing, regardless of, whether you like their music or not, whether you like their acting or not, whether you like their movies or not. If a person's willing to take on a issue, then we should support that.
Hmm. I agree. We got so can you see the comments?
No.
I thought you could. Okay. People are agreeing with you, Brandon. Henrietta Ivy said, absolutely, Brandon, we do. Um, she also said that it takes a village. Sierra said that everyone has a responsibility in a children's life.
That's true. But again, that the parent is supposed to be the filter. And so if you got, good cousin, good auntie, good grandma, bad uncle, the parent's supposed to filter that bad uncle out the way. And so that's what's needed is really, when I hear these conversations, everybody wants to point the finger, but no one wants to take responsibility for a child's youth. And so that's where parenting comes back in. and saying that parents, it's your responsibility to make sure your kid don't do the WAP or don't listen to Megan Thee Stallion. It's not Megan Thee Stallion's responsibility. And to me, that's a cop out. Parenting matters. Um, Resources matter, and if these people are coming together, what LeBron James, I mean, to me, LeBron James should almost get the Congressional Medal of Freedom for the amount of work he's done. I mean, he's really held the NBA standard to a next level where now even Jordan and all these other NBA players are starting to kind of follow suit of giving back. LeBron really was a big part of that. And so to me, when we talk about giving back, if we put more emphasis on celebrities, giving back in a certain way, where they want to give back in education, where they want to give back to help small businesses, whether they want to give back to help people, get quality care like Megan Thee Stallion, then to me, let the focus be on that, not her and Cardi doing a video that people find inappropriate. I mean, I get it, but at the end of the day, okay, just don't watch it.
Okay. And do you think kids really understand like the lyrics for real? Because it's a lot of subliminal
It
talk
goes, it goes
in
back to it goes
lyrics.
back to parenting. Read the lyrics, be nosy, and if it's inappropriate, then don't let your child watch it.
The parents are fully responding for what their child hear and see, and I totally agree with Bryce. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I totally agree with that. Um, but like as we move forward into, the conversation, because I posed the question, who doesn't know who Meg the Stallion is? Right? Like, so going forward, what do you think that would look like for her going into the professional realm of healthcare administration? Because that's not an easy degree to get. You gotta what, a bachelor's of science in pharmaceutical
Yeah, but here's the issue, Nikki.
studies?
Hold
Like,
on, here's the issue, Nikki. You didn't say, when you said Kim Kardashian just became an attorney, you didn't say becoming a lawyer for her wasn't hard. And so the thing, and I mean, if let's be real, if we're going
mhm,
to talk about comparing, inappropriateness, there's been quite a few things on that side that we can talk about. And so I find, we have to be fair in saying if Kim Kardashian, with all her antics, can become an attorney like her father, then I'm sure Megan Thee Stallion can set her own track to do something positive. Give her at least that credit, to say, hey, she's willing to take on an issue. Right now, healthcare is, given COVID-19, healthcare is a major issue, and especially with that population. She's willing to take it on. Kudos for her. And so, again, rather than people, sensationalism sells, but rather than people talking about her, how about we talk with her? How about we have her be our champion on issues around quality care and those who don't have it? Let's change that narrative.
mhm. Henrietta said that's a good point. That is a good point, because I believe like most professionals, I'm not gonna say all, most professionals have a past.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't wake up like this. Right? It took a whole lot of work, a whole lot of struggle, a whole lot of trauma to get to where you are. And my deal is like, my take is like, listen, um, don't throw shade at someone for doing something the way that you would not have done it. Because like you said, you got that 50-50 ratio, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 50% of people gonna like you, 50% of the people don't. Right? You can't consume your entire being around who's going to find you appropriate, who's going to support you, who's not going to support you, who like you. You know what? That's too much energy. That's
Well,
too much.
yeah, but Nikki, if you're not a Christian, There the one reason to be a Christian is Jesus, in some cases, even dealt with the naysayers. Matter of fact, none of the people that Jesus used were perfect people. They all had problems,
Oh yeah, all of them.
every single one of them. And so that to me helps me in saying if you had Paul liked the good life too much. Noah was an alcoholic. That's facts. Um, uh, uh, Peter, had his own issues. And so when you look at these people, you said these are regular people. We are regular people. And if a person is willing to use their pain to help someone else, then we should support that person, not
Mhm.
continue to profile that person.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with everything that you're saying. But when you're talking about like the whole professional development, the transition into the professional world, um, as this pop star, this influencer, and now you're using your platform to pretty much take life to a whole different level. I can't do anything other than to respect it, because like I said, it's
Mhm.
hard work. The average person, is hard work to just go to college, graduate, pay for it, all of the above. And for her to be able, because I watched some of her interviews,
Mhm.
and she talked about, she's doing class online, she has to go into the class sometimes, she's on tour, and she still has to be Meg the Stallion as well as Megan P. So now you have two different people that's out there, but you have to do what you have to do to get where you need to be.
But you know what's interesting, Nikki, is we say that, but we don't hold. We put the bulk of that blame on our brown and black folks, but
Hmm.
we don't put the same level of standard on our other counterparts. Uh, Again, Kim Kardashian, we don't question that. We accept it. Some other Paris Hilton, same thing. We don't question it, we accept it. But when Megan Stallion wants to do something positive, oh, well, we want to go back to our past. When I mean, we can continue to name countless examples, and so we just have to be fair. We have to be fair, and like I said, one thing that I would like to really kind of bring up here is this whole urban philanthropy concept of really what I like, um, just around how do we focus on giving back in our communities. I'll tell you, after watching the Black Panther series,
Hmm.
I saw a lot of people really reconfigure how they wanted to give back to Black society. Whether they wanted to give back to give back in the form of education, whether they wanted to get back in the form of um, their time and mentorship, whether they wanted to just get back in terms of grooming people like we used to do, uh,
Hmm.
to take over their positions. The beauty of it is you and I one day will get old. Well, maybe you, not me. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'll still look younger.
You're funny. Anyway, but I think even is we're not here to stay, and so the concern we should be focused on rather than WAP and what LeBron James ain't doing and what Snoop Dogg, who he with and all that stuff. We should be talking about what are we going to do when we get old, and do we have the people trained enough and prepared to take over our jobs? That's the real conversation.
Yeah, when you're talking about, just getting old, you know, and we don't pour into our youth today, right now, at this moment, we're going to be in trouble. And then the next generation is going to be in trouble. And it's going to be a cycle of BS, because you're going to have generation after generation that's not going to have it together unless someone comes in and breaks that chain. Like the giving back piece. Like for me, like sex trafficking, that's my thing. Mental health. That's my thing. It's nothing I studied. Well, I did, but I have a past. I mean, so what? You gonna shit on me because I was a stripper and now I'm a social worker and then I was a political candidate? I did what I did and I am who I am.
But
At this
see,
point.
here's the thing. I watched this film, and I kind of thought about your story. I
Mm-hmm.
watched this film, Legally Blonde, and it's a powerful film if you really give it
Still
credit.
haven't watched
No,
that.
no, no. It's a
I
powerful
remember you
film.
told me to watch it. I forgot. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's a powerful film because it talks about a woman who, in your story, which you've made public, you
Mm-hmm.
had one lifestyle, you saw the problem, and now you aiming to fix that problem in another lifestyle. And to me, that's a powerful story because someone can benefit from your past or your pain. And I don't think, I think we focus so much on the positives that we don't focus enough on the pain that we go through, or we don't focus enough. I call it, public success and private failures. We don't, we want to talk about the good stuff, but we don't want to talk about the bad stuff. And in reality, sometimes the bad stuff is what people can relate and can be healed. It's not the good stuff. Everybody don't get the good stuff. Most people get the bad stuff.
Cause like oftentimes, you go into a place and you go and you suit it up and you're talking and nobody cares. For real, no one cares about your accomplishments. How can you help me? As a social worker, I don't give a damn what school you went to. I don't care. How do you relate to me? How do you understand who
Mhm.
I am? Where
Yeah.
have you been?
Yeah, I mean, it's and and those are the stories that I think make us great. I mean, if you want to talk about Malcolm X, the reason so many people connected to Brother Malcolm is because before he was this great world leader, he was a hoodlum. He was a pimp. He was a drug dealer. I mean, he everything that was negative, he did, and he owned it. And once he kind of found Allah, and found the nation and he changed, now he had relevant content to take to change other people's lives. And that's something that we spend, I've always said that we spend way too much time on the positives and not enough time on really combing through the negatives and how you got out of that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Because that transition is the most important piece, right? The transition from how you ended up where you are today and why it is, why everything exists the way it does, in this new life, really, so to speak. Because, like
I,
you said, you
I
go
agree.
out and you change the world because you've been there, you've done that, you get it, you understand what it is, you see the problem. So when you give it back from your heart. You're not giving back because you Facebook Live. You're not giving back because the media is present. You giving back because you really give a damn because you are taking care of the person that you used to be.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue because it's the person I used to be. And that all, Michael Jackson said the man in the mirror, but
Mm,
that often is the person we fear most because that person is a reminder of who we once were.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's a powerful testimony, especially when you start talking about, just this was kind of going back to the content of the conversation, which is really about boundaries and who are we? Who are you? It's easy to point the finger, right?
Right.
But like they used to say, when you point one finger, you got, was that four pointing back at you? And so, I always say, rather than we focus on the negative, because that's what people do. I mean, we like negative content. We like negative algorithms. It's always better. It's always better. It's always better that we focus on what impact is a person making?
Mhm.
How are they changing their communities? How are they changing their neighborhoods? And I think if every celebrity, because I consider Megan Thee Stallion a celebrity, if
Mhm.
they just focused on changing one neighborhood in the United States, we would have a revolutionary idea of really changing communities as we see fit. We got the resources. We got enough resources in our communities. When people say we don't have enough resources, that's not true, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be leading the world in consumerism. Black people lead the world in consumerism. So we got the money. The question is, do we see the value of that kid, Saquon, that can't read? Or do we see the value of Tamika, who got the grades, but parents ain't got no money? So instead of going to college, she got to go do hair. Nothing wrong with that. But those are the type of questions that we really have to answer and address if we're going to fix this thing called poverty. And that's where philanthropy comes in.
So it sounds like, so you believe that the celebrities' role, and it's kind of their duty to give it back,
Well,
not based off of
like
do.
this, like they say in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. I'm a big believer that God doesn't give you wealth to spend it on yourself. That ain't how that's supposed to roll. Which goes back to philanthropy, and He gives you plenty. You're supposed to share to make sure other people, have an access to opportunity. I'm not going to say you get what I get, but you get. My job is to help make it easier access for you to get where I got. It doesn't stop with me. And so I think with philanthropy, or this urban philanthropy, this new concept that we came up on here, it's really around how do we use resources to help lift the next man up. And then how do we truly address some of the root issues in our community? Literacy is an issue. Access to
Mhm.
quality health care is an issue. Um, Job readiness and having the soft skills to actually stay in a job is an issue. Criminal justice reform. One thing I admire about Kanye and Kim Kardashian is, at least with all the antics, at least they're addressing innocent people being put behind bars. That's real. Um, and so, you can't give time back to somebody who has spent 20 years in prison, let alone imagine how much the world has changed in 30 years.
Right.
So, again, that goes back to, doing the work. And it goes back to how, these are real issues in our community. When they come out, are they prepared to take on a job? Do they have the skill sets to be successful in a world that has completely changed, especially post COVID? And so, if we're going to solve these issues, it can't just be the layman to do it. Celebrities have a role in that. Your voice has a role in that. Their resources has a role in that. And so I admire when people, um, I took some heat because there was a conversation about Oprah and supporting schools in Africa, and that's great. But they got schools in Compton that need to be supported. There's schools in Baltimore that need to be supported. There are schools in Newark, New Jersey that need to be supported. And so I think if we just focus on our own catchment area and addressing the issues there, we could have a big impact in the Black community when it comes from philanthropy and just the overall concept of giving back to those in need and to those most vulnerable.
Absolutely. I see we got some folks watching and tuned in. So y'all make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check me out. I am here every Thursday at 5 o'clock from 5 to 6. You can check me out on YouTube. Ivy Nicole, Nichole. Y'all, please don't forget the H. It's Ivy Nicole on Facebook. It's Ivy Nicole N on Twitter. And if you want to follow me by default on Instagram, it's Ivy Nicole N on there as well. So because we do have people kind of chimed in, I see Denise Barnes. So if you want to actually get live into this conversation, hit me up. The number is 313-2. 234-3716. Again, that number is 313-234-3716. Um, so hit me up if you want to join this conversation, if you got something to say, because I do see people chime in. And Henrietta, thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate your support as always. And you have to go, but thank you for tuning in, and you have a great, wonderful day. Again, y'all, if you did not catch that number, it's 313-234-3716. Hit me up. The phone is on. So if you want to get in live, please do so. We only got maybe like 15 minutes left. So don't wait until the time is up. We only here at 6 o'clock. So we got to continue this conversation as we're talking about professional boundaries, the
Mhm.
transition from one place in your life to the next, and what it means and what it looks like to give back. And to just own who you are as a person. Because, like, for me, I think it's very important to say, hey, this is who I am. I said what I said. I
Mhm.
did what I did. Um, who gonna check me, boo? Because at the end of the day, we all make mistakes in life. Whether it's a mistake or whether it's God ordained, because sometimes God puts you in situations or whatever so you can help people. He don't just put you through stuff to punish you. He puts you through stuff so it's a learning, so you can actually learn something, because he's giving you will to go out and change the world, because that is your God's, that's your duty. As my pastor Barry will always says, and if you don't, it's considered spiritual malpractice if God gives you a gift and you don't use it to change the world and to better the next generation coming up behind you. Because me growing up, I didn't have social media. So a lot of things, it was different. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Instagram. We had Black Planet and Facebook. And that was after I was already grown. I was probably like 21, 22, um, when those things started, you know, becoming in existence. So
Mhm.
again, we are living in a different world. So it is a lot easier for kids to be on the net, look at stuff or whatever. But again, like we said previously, it is the responsibility of a parent, the mentor, somebody, an adult, to help groom and mold a child.
You mentioned something, Nikki, that I agree with is um, your past is your growth.
Mm-hmm.
We all have done stupid things that we wish we could take back. I know I have. But I think it's how do you learn from it? And then how do you never do it again? My great grandmother used to say, her old saying, she used to say, when you get your hand caught in a lion's mouth, ease it out and then don't ever put it back in. And so I think, it's one of those things where, one, are you learning from your past mistakes? And matter of fact, I welcome mistakes because mistakes are the things that help enhance you. It's like fine tuning a diamond. You're fine tuning it to get that shine. But diamonds, if they always come up in a rough. And so we're not perfect people.
Mm-hmm.
No one is. And so I think it's those type of things where people need to own their past and they need to own their mistakes and they need to share their mistakes because those are the things that make other people follow suit and say, you know what, if he got through it, then so can I.
Definitely, and there are a lot of organizations that are definitely led by real survivors.
Hmm.
Again, I have to always shout out Leslie King of Sacred Beginnings. Make sure that you check her out. When you're talking sex trafficking, sexual exploitation, all the above, Leslie King is that deal when it comes to that. Um, because she's been there, she done that, and now she's going back on the same block to help girls and help women
Mhm.
um, out of the life of prostitution, which is powerful. Because let's be honest, can't no average person go out and do that if you've never been there.
Mhm.
You can do some therapy. You can do some trauma focused therapy, but unless you have really been about that life, you're not going to really be 100% for that person. I mean, you can, but again, when you've been there and you've done that, it's just a different type of vibe. And of course, always shout out to Nicholas Buckingham, Michigan Liberation, Kimberly Woodson, Redeeming Kimberly around criminal
Mhm.
reform. There's so many organizations that's giving back again without the camera being on. And I
Well,
can't
yeah.
stress stop doing stuff for clout because that's not giving back.
But you know what? You hit a major point. When you talk about this whole thing of um, credit, right? And I've always said when people don't care who gets the credit, you can do some amazing things. But the
Mm-hmm.
question is, people want credit. And so I go back to, this whole charitable giving piece, which, really goes back to, I mean, philanthropy goes back to, almost the Middle Ages, where people gave back, but they gave back for specific reasons. It was a strategy. And so with us, we have to be strategic as Black folks. We've got to be strategic with our philanthropic giving of what does that mean? And how do we use it to enhance our communities, to make sure that the other thing is uh, when you give or donate dollars, a lot of times that comes with something. And so what are we preparing uh, to give back? How are we preparing our communities? How are we preparing small business owners, which is another big factor that makes up our communities? How are we preparing, or how are we just investing in someone's future? Someone that, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of smart people in our neighborhoods who were extremely book smart but didn't have the financial resources. And so, how many of those people are we saying, you know what, I'm going to help fund you to college so you don't go into debt, so you automatically end up owing banks and being in greater financial debt? But imagine if we had one person, just one, adopt one small brother, one small sister, and say, I'm going to make sure financially, because it's all about the dollars,
Uh,
financially you make it through this college, at least your bachelor's.
yeah.
Now you got a bachelor's, you're debt free or very minimum debt, and now you've got an opportunity to start your life. I can tell you, I didn't have that, and I know a lot of people who didn't. They had to go, they had to take out student loans, they had to work studies, they had to do the things that build character, or that really uh, build a sense of work ethic to pay for their college. But imagine if I had one person that took it upon me and said, I'm going to make sure you make it through this school because I'm going to pay for you, and as a result, here's what I expect: good grades. I expect, a 4.0 or 3.5 or whatever. And so I think we really got to start looking at, you know, instead of investing our time in Real Housewives and all these other shows and, Love and Hip Hop, invest your time in somebody young. Invest your time in your kids. Invest your time in something that's actually going to be beneficial to you. And I think we'd be in a much uh, greater space if we did just that.
I see Monica just chimed in. If you are available, tap in, Monica. The number is 313-234-3716. Oh, my co-host Coco right here. So again, Monica, if you are available, tap in 313 234 3716. Um, and me and Monica, we have this conversation quite often, quite frequently, as it pertains to personal development, professional development, um, the
So,
evolution of a woman, all
so
of the
I'll take a couple. I'll take my last 9 minutes to just kind of go over some quick personal development things that I teach folks who I talk to. Number one, value yourself. What do I mean by that? Be on time. Respect other people's time. Um, Understand that your brand is who people see. It's not necessarily who you are, but it's what people see. And so, your brand um, needs to represent you and how you present yourself. It needs to
Mhm.
also represent you online and social media because that is who you are, and that is the first thing people will see and judge you. The other thing is follow through. A lot of times we say things, but then the most important thing is, are you actually going to do them? And if you can't do them, are you going to tell me that you can't do them so I can find somebody else to do them? And so follow through, presentation, be on time, and respect other people's times. Those are some of the initial, and they call those soft skills. Those are some of the initial things that people need to do if they want to be taken seriously in this corporate environment.
Okay, Monica said one more time 313 234 3716. We got a couple minutes. Tap in.
Did they? Oh, she wanted me to repeat it.
No, I think she's going to call in.
Oh, okay, okay.
She's going to call, and then we are going to close it out. Let's see. We'll wait. While we wait, Brandon, just let everybody know how they can find you. If they want to connect with you.
Well, unless you've got some philanthropic dollars to throw my way to serve youth. No, I'm joking. I mean, you can always find me, brandonbryce.com. I really think this philanthropy conversation is so important because we can't depend on the banks. We can't depend on, the rich uncles. We can't depend on shaking money out the money tree. It really is going to come down to us. The only ones who can serve us is us. And so that philanthropy piece becomes critical. Where I don't care if it's Big Sean or LeBron James or Megan Thee Stallion or Snoop Dogg, these people have given back to the community, and they've done it at their level. I always question, how much have you done it at your level?
That's a good, yeah, I like that. And I guess we'll end with that, y'all. So we are actually out of time. So I will be back again, same time, same place. Shut up. My co-host is turned up. She a baby, y'all. She want to play for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll be back the same time next week. And we will be talking about the Christmas story. So it is going into the eve of Christmas Eve. So make sure that you tap in for this much needed conversation. I'm about to throw something at her. So we out, y'all.